Lechor.
That's the proper way to do it. Alright, so like Hanani said, I'm a pasty white guy from Pennsylvania. I grew up in a small town of about 4,000 people, a village almost, and there was one Jewish family in the town I lived in. Not a lot going on there.
Like Ethan.
Like Ethan. Yeah.
Ethan doesn't come from a little town.
Oh yeah? With no Jews? Yeah, right. So, America's a little bit different, I think, from South Africa. We have a lot more sects, quote unquote, S-E-C-T-S, of Judaism. So, make sure, I never know. A lot of different movements of Judaism, and so the movement I grew up with is called Reform, and the education that I got in terms of Judaism was very, I would say even almost below basic level. So I didn't have a very firm understanding or grasp of what Judaism was growing up, and I never was exposed to any like Orthodox or Chabad or any more Torah observant Judaism. So I didn't know that there was anything else out there. This is all I knew. And even this synagogue was about a 30-minute drive away. I know 30 minutes for you guys is probably not so far, but for me 30 minutes is like pretty far. I can't do the translation from miles to kilometers, but it's far. And so I didn't really have any friends that were Jewish growing up. I was the only Jew in my school. I got picked on a little bit. Not so bad, thank God. Maybe the worst thing that people like used to throw coins at me. Like, pick it up, Jew, and I'd be like, oh no, and then I would take all the money and buy donuts at lunch. But it wasn't ever so terrible. But I remember growing up that the only thing that really made me different from everyone else, even though I had grandparents who were my Bubby and my Zaidi, they're Yiddish-speaking grandparents, and they're very, very on me all the time about telling me you're a proud Jew. We're proud Jews. You should know you're a Jew. You should be proud to be Jewish. But in my everyday life, it didn't really translate over, because what made me different from all the other Christian kids in my town was that on December 25th, when I woke up, I didn't get to open presents and they did. That was the main thing that made us different. Other than that, I was exactly the same as everyone else in my school. The only thing that was different was I would say that I'm a Jew. I would meet people. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm David, and I'm a Jew." And people would be like, "You're a Jew?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're the only Jew I've ever met. That's crazy. Whoa!" And I'd be like, "I'm also the only Jew I've ever met." It's pretty wild. So I always knew I had this foundation of identity of being a Jew, but it didn't really mean anything in my everyday life. Like, it was an identity, but it wasn't based on anything. There was no substance to that, because nothing in my everyday life really reaffirmed me being Jewish. It was just something I said, and that made me different from everyone else. But there was what I saw every day, there was no practical difference between me and my neighbor. Nothing at all. So it was like a little bit confusing. And then when I was a senior in high school, I took a philosophy class, and I do not recommend that at all. Don't take philosophy. Any philosophy majors? I see. I took this philosophy class, and at the same time I was taking this philosophy class, I happened to read a book called Siddhartha, and I really related to this main character of the book. It's like a book about Buddhism, and the main character of the book grew up in a very small tribe, and he learned everything he could possibly learn from all the elders of this tribe, and he felt like, I still don't know what's the truth of the universe. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what's my purpose. I feel like I'm missing something. No one else here in this community can teach me anything, and I feel like I'm at a dead end. And there's another tribe that happened to be, like, it's a nomadic tribe. They literally live in the trees and hop from tree to tree and eat fruits, and then they go sometimes into town to get some more substantial food. But he's like, he saw them and he said that they looked free and they looked happy, so he wanted to go learn from them to see if they knew what the truth was. And so he left this community, he went and studied, he learned with that community, lived with them for like a year, maybe a year and a half, and he learned everything he could possibly learn from all the elders, and he was the smartest guy, and he realized, like, I still am not happy, I still don't know what the truth is. And so he kept going on this cycle where he would find a new tribe, a new group, and he would hop from one to the other, and he was never satisfied, basically. And I felt very like, I connected with that a lot because I also felt like, oh, I've learned everything I could possibly learn. I feel like I'm at a dead end and I want to learn more. I know that there's something else truthful out there, but I can't really put my finger on it, and no one seems to have the answer. And what made me very upset was that Judaism itself didn't have the answer. Which I was like very, very torn by, because my identity I was like, I'm a Jew, but like Judaism is not telling me what the truth is. So maybe I shouldn't do this. I was also learning different philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, all these different people, learning about the cave theory. You guys know about the cave theory, Plato's cave. Some people are shaking yes, some people are just staring at me. Have a couple more drinks, you'll start to understand it.
I love this stuff.
I want my son to get bar mitzvah here. And the rabbi had to take him aside and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but your kids are not Jewish. They can't have a bar mitzvah here. Their mom never had an Orthodox conversion. So the kids were not born Jews. And I knew, my uncle was like, are you kidding me? He's like, we've been coming here for a year. You're not going to let my son have a bar mitzvah? I can't have an aliyah? So my uncle goes, at least let him hold the Torah or something. He's like, sorry, it's all reserved, all these honors are reserved for people who are Jewish. Can't do it here, I'm sorry. And so my uncle was very upset, and he basically told the family like what had happened. And I saw how much it shattered my cousins, because their whole lives they were told that they were Jews. And I'm sure, I never had the conversation with them, but I'm sure their identity was just as shaky as mine, because they weren't everyday practicing the same as I was. I was not everyday practicing, and I was very shaky about my identity. And I saw how much it crushed them, that they realized that they were being lied to their whole lives. And I was talking to the shliach about this, and I was like, I'm so grateful that my mom had an Orthodox conversion. And she did this because I knew that if that was me, I wouldn't know how to handle it. It would crush me. It would absolutely crush me. And I'm so grateful and like beyond thankful to my mom that she like went through that process, because it's insane the ramifications that it can have long term. And so I was telling this rabbi this, and in that moment, he was like, oh, this kid's like really grabbing onto something. And he asked me, he said, hey, do you want to learn this week's parsha? You guys know what that is? That week's Torah portion, what the story you're supposed to read in the Torah that week. Parsha was that week, I have no idea what it was. But it was the first time that I ever got exposed to something called Chassidus. You guys know what Chassidus is? Half and half, no? Okay, so Chassidus is, for layman's terms, like
in the dimensions of the Torah, the deeper.
It's like philosophy of Judaism, the philosophy of Judaism. What is the deeper meaning? What's the esoteric? What's really going on behind the scenes? How does the energy flow in the universe? And all these different things, like all these things that I was looking for in philosophy and Buddhism, were all here in Chassidus. Chabad, what we are, is a form of Chassidus that focuses specifically on the intellectual faculties. And so it's like a lot of the Chassidus from Chabad is very like, what's the right word? It's very, not intellectual, but like scholarly. Like focuses a lot on different scriptures and using a lot of those different, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have a question.
Please.
So like, is
Fine.
Hasidism like specific commentators like create that, or anyone, different commentators can comment on Hasidus?
Good question. So it's not quite like, there are quote unquote commentators. It started with the Baal Shem Tov. It was like the first, he created Chassidus.
Started with Shimon Bar Yochai.
It started with Shimon Bar Yochai. I was about to get to that. So Shimon Bar Yochai, whose yard site is today, whose day of passing is today, he created the inner, what was the word?
Inner dimension.
He created a work, a writing, basically explaining Kabbalah. What Kabbalah, what we know as Kabbalah, Shimon Bar Yochai created. Mysticism, thank you. In Judaism. But there was a big issue with Kabbalah. That's why a lot of people that maybe you've heard, you're not supposed to learn Kabbalah until you're 40 years old. It's not quite the same nowadays, but a lot of people were going crazy trying to learn this Kabbalah because it didn't make any sense. So basically, this guy named the Baal Shem Tov learned the Kabbalah, learned the entire Torah, learned all the different commentators of the Gemara, Talmud, the oral Torah, the written Torah, and figured out how they all interconnected. And he laid it out for everybody in a way that was practical, that you could use every single day, that made sense, and it used to be during the Baal Shem Tov's time that there was two groups of people. You had the wealthy people who could afford to go to school, and they went to yeshivas and they learned Torah, and those are the people that all knew what the Torah was, knew Hebrew, all these different things. Then you had poor people that had no idea what was going on, and they trusted one rabbi or one guy in the town to tell them exactly how to live their lives, but they didn't know any Torah themselves. The Baal Shem Tov said there's something wrong here, because the wealthy people would not let, or the people who were well educated would not let the uneducated people come and pray in the synagogue with them. They said, no, you're uneducated, you can't come in. They would literally, you'd have to pray outside, you're not allowed to come in. So there's this big dissonance between these two people. The Baal Shem Tov says something's wrong here, because the Baal Shem Tov has been around these poor people, and he sees the love and the dedication they have to God, even though they don't know anything. Kind of like how Ethan and I grew up. Even though we don't know anything, we have this deep dedication and love for Hashem that like comes from nowhere. And he goes, that's way more powerful than any educated person has. He says, there's power here, and the fact that these educated people that learn so much Torah don't recognize that, he's like, it's a problem. And so he used Kabbalah and Chassidus and created Chassidus to basically bridge the gap between the two and help educate and empower everybody. And so basically bringing all the Jews up to the same level in terms of Torah knowledge and love and excitement to do mitzvahs and learn Torah. And that was like his whole goal. So that's Chassidus, somewhat in a nutshell. You want to add something? Okay. Campus. We're learning the Parsha, and it was the first time we learned with Chassidic insights. With the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Chabad Rebbe's Chassidic insights onto what does the Parsha actually mean for me. Because when you learn a silly Bible story, you're like, shkoyach, cool. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. It's like something that happened thousands of years ago. It's impractical. What does that mean? So here I got to understand and start to see, okay, this is how God is interacting with the world. This is how he's sending different energies into the world. And then also, this is how I can grow as a person. Like, I can see different character traits that I can work on, or different things I should be focusing on this week in terms of making myself grow, helping my character traits become a better person in general. And all these different cool esoteric insights were like blowing me away. And he asked me, what are you doing next week? And I said, I would love to do this with you again. I don't know if you guys do Torah study, lunch and learn. With Kanani, it's probably very similar. But it was just me and him. It was like a one-on-one with this rabbi. And so I got to ask him all the questions I had and all the different things. And we would basically have what's called a Farbrengen, which is kind of what we're doing now. When you sit, you ask questions, you go back and forth a little bit, and you just kind of grow and be raw with each other and open. And so he asked me what I was doing the following week. I said, I would love to do this again. This was really cool. This blew my mind because I was like, I didn't think that all those things that I found in Judaism, all the things I found in Buddhism and philosophy, I didn't think they existed in Judaism. And he just blew my mind and said, no, actually, it's all here. So I was like, yeah, I would love to learn this again. And every week we would learn, and every week I would say, oh, that's just like this in Buddhism. Well, that's just like this in philosophy. And he would be like, yeah, but it's not quite the same. So this kept going on for like a month or two. And eventually he must have been fed up with me, but I'm glad he did this. Just like really was the big shift for me of changing from being stuck in this philosophy and Buddhism still, and like being like all in and being like, no, I'm a Jew and I can find my answers here, nowhere else. I don't have to look anywhere else. Does anybody know Buddhism at all? No? Nobody knows Buddhism? Wow, it's the deacon. Okay, a little bit. Kyle knows a little bit. All right. So what's the goal in Buddhism? What are you trying to reach?
Nirvana.
Ah, beautiful. You know it. Okay, perfect. Do you know how Buddha reached Nirvana?
Sitting underneath a which tree.
Doesn't matter which tree. He sat underneath the tree and did what?
Meditate.
And what else did he do?
Released all of his kind of attachments to the material world.
Oh.
And everything.
Beautiful. So he sat under a tree, and then what happened at the end of the week or two that he was there?
I actually don't know.
He went to Nirvana.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It
he
depends because
ceased
there's
to
different
exist,
Buddhas,
right?
so there's like different it depends.
Yeah,
on
this is
which,
the classic. So he ceased to exist in this world and he went to Nirvana. So
Who's this?
This is Buddha. So
Rabbi
the
Buddha.
goal in Buddhism is to reach
Nirvana
nirvana.
is like a heaven.
Nirvana is like ecstasy, total ecstasy.
Not the band.
Not the band Nirvana.
That's
You
also
guys,
total
you guys
ecstasy.
smell like teens. And it's not. That's so. So Nirvana is basically, that was beautifully put. That's perfect. Thank you. So Nirvana is the goal in Buddhism, and like you said, Buddha realized that his attachment to the material world is what caused him suffering. So when he was attached to what cool clothes he was supposed to wear, and he didn't have access to those clothes, he was upset and he suffered. When he grew up in a palace, Buddha was a prince, and he realized when he didn't have access to his fancy, delicious foods that servants were making for him every day, he was very upset. And when he didn't have like clean water, he was upset. All these different things. When he didn't have like the perfect girlfriend or relationship, whatever it was, or friends to help him out at the time that he needed or wanted, he got upset. So he said, "Oh, it must be that my attachment to materiality is what makes me sad. So if I can get rid of all my attachment for material things, I'll be happy." And that's called nirvana. So, like Kyle did a very good job of explaining, the way that Buddha reached nirvana was he sat under a tree and meditated for 10 days, maybe longer. I forget how long it was. 140 days? 40 days and 40 nights. He sat under a tree and removed himself entirely from the material world. And when you read it, you're like, wow, that's so cool. He reached nirvana. Wow. But if we look in actuality, what happened? If you sit right now under a tree in rags and don't eat and drink for 40 days, what will happen? Oh, perfect. So what's nirvana? What does Buddhism teach you? That the only way to be happy is to be dead. Heavy stuff. So Buddhism wants me to kill myself, essentially. That's what I was picking up from that. And this is what the rabbi was helping me understand. So he said, even if Buddhism is true, and because I found so much truth in Buddhism, he couldn't tell me that Buddhism is not true. And even to this day, I wouldn't say that Buddhism is not true. There's a lot of things I find in it to be true. Because even if it is true, and if Judaism is true, you could say they're on opposite ends of the truth spectrum. The idea of Buddhism is that everything is nothing. The material world, all this stuff is meaningless and nothingness. You don't want to be a part of it because this is not really what's going on. Spirituality, godly, like pure energy, that's really what's happening. So this world is nothing. Buddhism is everything is nothing. In Judaism, it's the exact opposite. It says everything is
Everything.
almost what?
Everything's one.
One? Oh, this boy knows. Ma Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. Oh, this is yeshiva. You gotta do a yeshiva. This is what happens.
It paid off.
Exactly. So he said Buddhism is everything is nothing, and Judaism everything is one. Any computer scientists, developers, coders, ones and zeros, binary?
Yeah.
Adam.
The perfect English.
No?
You're a coder?
I've been studying computer science for 3 years. I don't know how to code.
Okay, so that's how you know for sure he's been studying computer science. I also study computer science, so I understand. Hello, world. All
Probably what
right.
you're doing right
So basically, that was what he told me. He said, if both are true, that everything is nothing, or everything is one. What's the idea that everything is one? The idea that everything is one in Judaism is that you can be so involved with the material world. It's not that you should remove yourself. It's that you should get so deeply involved with the material world that it no longer becomes material. It itself becomes spiritual. You can use your consciousness. That's the beauty of being a human. Is you have this consciousness and this power and this will to manifest things in the world that don't exist. And you can even turn things that do exist into something else. So you can literally take things that are material and turn it into something that's spiritual. I can make a beautiful blessing on this wine, this delicious wine that's made right here in Stellenbosch, kosher wine. I can make a blessing on it, and I can go, wow, that's no longer wine in this cup, it's sparks. It's sparks of energy that when I drink it, it loosens me up and I can be a little bit more raw and open with everyone here. And I can use it to help inspire other Jews to be excited about their Judaism. It's beautiful. So now it's no longer wine. It's spirituality, it's godliness literally being expressed in this physical world. It's not because I'm refraining from drinking, it's I'm getting so involved and conscious about this drinking of this wine that it becomes something other than what it seems like on the surface. That's everything is one. And so he's like, if you have this option, even if both are true, that everything is nothing, because it is true. This whole world is technically, this material world is not really what's happening. Really, it's atoms and electrons and energy flow. That's really what's happening. But if I have the option of removing myself entirely from this world or getting so involved with this world, I could kill myself or I could live fully. Which one would you choose? You had the option. For me, thank God, it was a pretty obvious option. I'm going to pick the one. And from that point on, I kind of like threw this Buddhist idea and this other philosophers kind of like, I don't need that, because it's going to, where is it leading? It's leading to this unknown of that the world is meaningless and nothingness. I could live a total opposite life, that every single moment has potential to have meaning and beauty. Anyway, that was the beginning of my Jewish journey, so to speak. The years after that were very rocky. I left after my first year, during my break, and I went to a yeshiva in Israel called Ma'anot. It's a beautiful, amazing yeshiva. If you're looking for a yeshiva to learn in, you can learn in that one. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Someone else also went to that yeshiva. Very cool guy that I know. And it was very difficult to go back to campus life. I'm sure you've been to yeshiva already and came back?
First time.
Well, I mean, we have visited it.
But like, this is the first time we're going.
Oh, you're going now, this break?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Don't come back, please. Do yourself a favor, I'm telling you now. Don't come back. Just stay there.
Yeah.
If your parents have a problem, don't call me. I'm telling you right now, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Who's gonna look after the scooters here? Here are all the scooters in now, bro. Market's flooded there already.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Wow.
Wow. I'll be back.
Yeah,
I'll be back.
don't do it. Telling you now. I'll literally pay you money to not come back.
We were on the scooters here.
No doubt.
Stay.
Labor here is very cheap. But opposite environment of what I was just in. And I went back with this attitude of, I'm a proud Jew. I bought my own pair of tefillin. I was wrapping tefillin every single day. And then like 3 months into doing this, I started to feel like fake. Like trying to be religious felt fake. Because everyone I was surrounded by was doing the exact opposite, encouraging me to not do what I was doing. And it was very hard. And what would happen was my rabbi on campus, I'd wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, and he would pick me up. We would drive to the closest synagogue. We would go to mikvah, we would pray, and they would bring me back to campus. And then when I got back to campus, I would eat my bacon and eggs and non-kosher breakfast and hang out with my non-Jewish girlfriend. And then I would do that every single day until Shabbat came. And then when Shabbat came, I would do Shabbat at his house, and then I would go home and be on my phone. And then the next morning I would go with him, and we would walk to a synagogue, which is like an hour away, uphill, both ways. And
In the snow.
in the snow, yeah, holes in my shoes. And then I would come back. We would spend the whole day in synagogue, and I would come back, and then Saturday night, after Havdalah, I would go party with my friends. I was in a fraternity. We were doing like crazy things. I actually got kicked out of my fraternity. I was a party animal. And it was literally the most miserable I've ever been.
How do you get kicked out of it?
We were on probation, and we threw a party, and we were doing drugs and things like that. The cops got called. And so
You have to do it small.
yeah, that's smart. Yeah. So I wasn't smart. Still working on it. Still not that smart, but getting better, thank God. But that was the worst part for me, though. I was more miserable then in my life than I was when I first got to college, before I learned about this deep esoteric thing, and I was confused about my identity. Now I knew what my identity was, and I for sure knew that my actions every day were not aligned with my values. So that dissonance was even bigger than it had ever been. And the thing was, I was trying to live two lives at the same time. I was trying to live a fully religious life and a fully secular, like, it's called taivas, which is like pleasures, desires that are like, what's it called? Like, yeah, momentary desires, like physical desires, things that are like in the moment.
Professional.
There's a certain way that, I forget what you call it. Basically, like, I can have this desire. I can get it. Thank you. You got it. Instant gratification. Perfect. That was it. That's what it was. I was living this life where I wanted these things that were giving me instant gratification, and there was no lack of having that instant gratification, especially in college. It's like everywhere, whatever you want. Food, drugs, alcohol, women, anything that you could think of, that clothes, anything that you want that's like instant gratification, tattoos even. It's instant gratification, a cheap fix for something that I really want. And and so I was, but at the same time, I wanted to be this connected to God and something deeper and bigger than myself. So the worst part was I was feeling guilty on both sides. And this is where I highly encourage people to never feel guilty. You should feel guilty, but only to the point that it's actually going to help you change. If it's not going to help you change and it turns into depression, it's going to hurt you, you shouldn't feel guilty. But, so for me, the way I describe it is, I was going to pray in the morning, and I was wrapping tefillin, and I'm praying. And the whole time I'm praying, the only thing I can think about is getting back to campus so I can hang out with my non-Jewish girlfriend and eat my bacon. And the whole time I'm eating my bacon and hanging out with my non-Jewish girlfriend. I tried so hard. The whole time I was doing that, I felt guilty because I knew it's not what I was supposed to be doing. So, what are people going to think of me? What if I fail? All these different things. You're like, even if I fail, it's better than being dead. So, like, go for that thing. Really work for it. And so the next few years of my life weren't as depressing as it was when I was in college, because I kind of started to come to terms with that. Okay, maybe I'm not holding at that place yet where I can keep Shabbat, keep kosher, do all these things. Maybe there's certain things in my life I need to work towards slowly in a little bit more in a healthy way, to be able to reach those goals, like a more practical, everyday way of getting there. And slowly I started getting to that point, and then right around when COVID hit, right before, I kind of went away from that again. And I was living this double life. And the whole time I should go back to, who's into fighting here? Who's like you? No? No one's really? You a little bit? Krav Maga guys? Yeah? You? Nice.
Karate, jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah? Nice, beautiful. So, when I was a senior in college, and this was also a very, very beautiful enrollment, like a big savior in my life as well. A friend of mine got into a car accident, totaled his car. He was fine, thank God, but he was an MMA fighter. And what's your name?
Jared.
Jared? He's probably built like Jared, about Jared's height.
Okay.
And I'm built kind of like how I'm built. I'm a bigger guy. I was actually bigger in college, probably, like more, this one. And he'd been doing MMA his whole life, right? He'd been doing jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, all these things his whole life. And I've been wrestling basically my whole life and playing rugby the past few years at this point. And I was like, I'm a pretty tough guy. In my mind, I could beat him up pretty easily. Like, it's not a problem for me. Just do a giant takedown and throw him down on the ground. And then like a minute later, I wake up and I'm looking around. I'm like, what just happened? He goes, bro, I choked you out unconscious. And I was like, what? And yeah, and I was like so confused that this kid, like half my size, I for sure in my mind could dominate, no problem. Just wrecked my life. Could have done whatever he wanted to do for like a whole minute straight because I was laying on the floor unconscious. And after that, I was like, I need to learn everything there is to know about this sport, because it's like, I was like, how could it be possible that a guy, and I know for sure in my mind I would for sure win, that he like just took me out like that, so easy, like with nothing. It was like he didn't even break a sweat. We were only touching each other for like 10 seconds before I was like gurgling on my own saliva. So that's how I really got into mixed martial arts, and I was very, as you can tell, I enjoy being proven wrong. Like that's something that excites me a lot. Like when I met the rabbi for the first time and he wasn't a terrible guy, he was a good guy. I got very excited about that. I wanted to explore that. It's the same with this sort of thing, and there's a lot of parallels between MMA and Hasidus and like religious Judaism. discipline, curiosity, challenge, and growth. In MMA, I feel like you're never done growing. You can always become a better martial artist. There's always, you can think deeper, you can look at something in a different way. So much for the tea. You can always learn something new. And in Judaism, it's infinitely more so. There's never-ending knowledge in Judaism. We have the entire written Torah, which if you're going to learn one page a day, it takes 7 years to complete. And even then, people are coming up with new insights and learning new things. And every time you read through it, there's something different going on. And it's insane. And in this infinite challenge is kind of wherein lies our purpose as well. It's like do you guys learn Tanya at all? Did he teach you guys Tanya? You dated a girl named Tanya? Is that what you said? So Tanya is of the philosophical work of Chabad. The first Chabad Rebbe created this work, and oh, where was I going with that? Oh my gosh!
What's that book with the three things?
Book with the three things?
Yeah, with the three things.
What?
T.
Oh, Chitas.
Chitas. Yeah, it's in there.
So it's Chumash, Tehillim, and Tanya.
Tanya, right. Yeah, Jared?
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I want you guys to ask questions also, by the way.
I just want to know your thoughts on Kabbalah. Have you done it?
You have to do it in the accent. Kabbalah.
Kabbalah. Like just your thoughts on it. I find it quite fascinating.
Kabbalah?
I'll send out the milk.
What about it? What's your question?
Just what's your thoughts on it? Have you are you big into it? Or,
Is it like magic? Like how to become
You know what's more magic? More magic than Kabbalah is Moda'ani.
It's the Torah of the soul. Tanya is the Torah of the soul.
No, Tanya.
Tanya? Based on
Tanya takes the ideas of Kabbalah and brings them down into more practical. I've learned some Kabbalah. Chassidus is exactly that. Chassidus is practical Kabbalah.
So what's Tanya?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Tanya is Chabad's take on is Chabad Chassidus.
I'm not about to.
You don't have to be to learn Tanya. Non-Jews learn Tanya.
So once you watch that, like Tanya.
Yeah, you can learn Tanya, Lakuti, Maharon.